the Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Geopolitics with Ghost. I am your host, Gordon McCormick. Ghost to Base Patrick Henry. Today is October 14th, 2025. So I was just making sure we had everything we needed to get rolling. Man, what a day. What a week. There's obviously a lot of major things happening geopolitically, things that we've been talking about on this show, kind of coming to fruition, I wouldn't say full circle, but they're rounding the corner, and I think coming down the final stretch. Before we get any deeper into it, let's hear a word from our sponsor, acknowledge a sponsor rather, and that would be our friend Jordan Sather and his company Conscious Strength. Maha yourself with supplements that don't suck from Conscious Strength, founded by Badlands' very own Jordan Sather in 2019. Conscious Strength products are made in America and won't break your bank, unlike other online brands. Their lineup includes collagen for strengthening joints and hair, electrolytes to get rid of those cramps, greens powder that tastes good and mixes easy, Shilajit gummies, methylene blue, zeolite, and more. Flip the finger to pharma, be your own doctor, and get supplements that you can trust from Conscious Strength. Go to badlandsmedia.tv/strength to shop now. One more time, badlandsmedia.tv/strength, and the link is in the description of this video. All right. And thank you again to Jordan, and funny ad read. Congratulations, by the way, to Jordan and CanCon and a few others. I think Brad as well. They all got their YouTube channels back. And, we don't like YouTube is YouTube. It's a censored platform, but all those guys had very large followings and were making good money, from the monetization of YouTube until they were censored, which is why they were censored, I would imagine. So I don't know what happens from here, but it's the small victories, and it is what it is. All right. So how's the chat doing? We'll say what's up to the chat before we get rolling, because once I get rolling, I'm probably not going to be I'm going to be checking the chat as much as I can, but you know how it goes. Once I get in the zone, I get tunnel vision. Looks like we got an early rant from Monty710, $10. What is your take, if true, on the Palestinian prisoner stating that there are still 2,000 prisoners in Israel they didn't release? I haven't seen that story. Let me pull that up. Nothing along those lines would surprise me. Let's see. Israel releases 1,900 Palestinians. Yeah, we'll talk about that story. they have like here's one, for example. Here's one from The Guardian. They have thousands and thousands of people who are prisoners. And I think I have this open in the wrong browser because I have two browsers that I use, one for the chat and one for the show. Pull this up. It's a good. It's a very, very good question. So this is from The Guardian. Locked up for 24 years is the headlines. Release of Palestinian prisoners and detainees sparks sorrow and joy and sorrow. Like when they announced they were releasing 2,000 prisoners, I said, okay, well that does, but I don't even think that scratches the surface of how many people have been taken prisoner by Israel. It says nearly 2,000 people, including 1,700 seized from Gaza and held without charge, set free from Israeli jails. The police could not hold the crowds back as soon as they saw the Palestinian prisoners and detainees through the windows of the bus. Hundreds of people gathering in front of a theater in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank rushed forward, chanting the names of the loved ones they had not seen for years, or in some cases, decades. Their faces were gaunt, the sharp angles decorated by freshly scabbed over wounds. Loved ones hoisted them on their shoulders with ease. One swaddled in a Palestinian keffiyeh and splaying his fingers into a V for victory, was dropped before his mother, whose feet he began to kiss. In total, 88 Palestinians were released from Israeli prisons and sent to the occupied West Bank on Monday. The other nearly 2,000, a number that includes about 1,700 Palestinians seized from Gaza during the war and held without charge, were sent back to Gaza, where a minority would travel on to neighboring countries. The prisoners and detainees were released by Israel a few hours after all living Israeli hostages were returned from Gaza. The exchange marked the first step in a ceasefire that could permanently end the 2-year conflict in the territory. Before Monday's release, 11,056 Palestinians were held in Israeli prison. So there you go. According to statistics from the Israeli NGO Ha-Maked in October 2025, at least 3,500 of those were held in administrative detention without trial. An Israeli military database has indicated that only a quarter of those detainees or of those detained in Gaza were classified as fighters. So there you go. 75% of the people that they detained in Gaza weren't even classified as fighters. They were just people who pissed off the wrong person, pissed off the wrong IDF soldier in the wrong moment. And this really highlights how draconian Israeli society is, like the Israeli government is. Israel, I've said it many times. I've talked about it on multiple shows with some of the other Badlands hosts, and I recognize that most of the other Badlands hosts haven't done the digs into Israel that I have, and I respect that. They have their own corner of the information world where they focus, and when it comes to those subjects, I defer to them on that information because they know so much more about it than I do. But when you look at what Israel is and what it represents, and I really kind of detest the fact that it's even called Israel at this point, because people just so easily conflate that with like the Bible, like what they've read in the Bible or their understanding of the Bible. Because when you understand what this government is, it's a government that is totally set up for self-preservation, and everything about it. I mean, that goes without saying for most governments. Most governments should be prioritizing self-preservation above all else, but it kind of goes to the next level with Israel because they conflate the Jewish identity in general with the Zionist state. And because they have such an aggressive foreign policy when it comes to their neighboring countries, when they have this desire to annex land, expand their borders, and then solidify and protect those borders and against neighbors that they do not get along with. When you combine that with the fact that they view themselves as the protectors of the Jews, so to speak, even though only 45% of Jews worldwide have Israeli citizenship, that's a recipe for fascism, for like hard, there's another word, by the way, that I kind of detest because of the way it's been used and it's been conflated. But if you look at fascism as basically draconian government that utilizes kinetic military force and put a police state in order to impose its will upon the individual, not just upon its enemies, but upon the individual, even those who are technically Israeli citizens. It prioritizes the state over the individual. That is the definitive difference between Israel and America. That is why Israel will never be America. It's why Israel will frankly never be Europe, because while the European governments do have a history and a tendency to overreach and overstep because they don't have the Bill of Rights the way that America does. That's what makes America, in my opinion, frankly, better than all the other countries in terms of the opportunity, the quality of life, and the way that the individual is treated is the Bill of Rights. Israel goes above and beyond because it is willing to basically do anything to anybody at any point in order to maintain its edge and preserve itself. And that is going to create a situation where individuals are just going to have their rights crushed. They're going to have their proverbial tongues cut out. They're going to have their lives taken from them, figuratively and literally. Figuratively in this case, where people are thrown in prison for 24 years without charges, or literally where they're just driven over by a bulldozer, like that girl, that 18-year-old American girl who was 20 some years ago, who went there to protest for Palestine, and they literally just drove an IDF bulldozer right over it, and then laughed about it later. It's a very, very just ruthless situation, and I think that kind of disposition fosters an inhumane worldview where the people who grow up inside of that and then become like the security arm of it, they become the enforcers of it. They kind of are dehumanized in a lot of ways. They're desensitized to the way that humans are treated, the way that humans are viewed. They view a lot of these people, the Palestinians, as subhuman, and because of that, they don't think of anything of just totally abusing them. And even when the people are not even violent or a threat, they just say, you're subhuman filth. And that's what they're taught. We talk about the radicalization of the Palestinians, but there's also a radicalization of Israelis as well, because they're taught to hate the Palestinians as much as the Palestinians are taught to hate them. So, I don't know how you fix that. That is a cultural issue that is going to require significant effort on both sides to act, like a will rather, to want to change. And I've seen from the Palestinian side, I've seen enough to convince me that they do have a will to change. Does Israel have a will to change? And that is a question that I think is going to be answered over the next several months as this thing develops. But it's very clear that the political establishment in Israel does not want to change. They have no desire to do that. And the world is going to have to drag them kicking and screaming into the new world, the new age, the golden age. And I don't know how this all gets resolved, because even once we have peace, can that peace be kept? And I have to really credit President Trump with what he's done. So let's just kind of get into it and appreciate, Monty, the rant. I hope I answered your question. My thought is that I expect there's probably thousands and thousands of people still in prison in Israel, Palestinians, and that situation needs to be resolved. I don't know how it gets resolved, because Israel does not have a Bill of Rights. They certainly don't have an extension of any rights that Israeli citizens have for Palestinians. You actually have a situation where Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, who I think would like to be prime minister one day, the manifesto he wrote, I think he wrote it in 2015, called for a two-class system where Jews would have full rights, and then non-Jews, which means not just Muslims but Christians, would basically be second-class citizens. They would not have the same rights. And as I recall from reading his manifesto, he said, of course, these people are welcome to stay if they want, but if they do choose to stay, they're not going to enjoy the same quality of life or the same level of citizenship as the Jews, because this is the Jewish state and it's the only Jewish state in the world, and that's the justification. So, when you have that kind of mentality, you can't expect a lot of people to favorably view you, and you can't be surprised when people are going to view you actually as pretty repulsive, because you are. All right, so this speech, Trump at the Knesset. There's probably a few clips that I want to look at there, but I'm way more interested in, this is the one that I was way more interested in. I was way more interested in the Egypt summit than the Knesset. All I wanted to see from Trump at the Knesset was him go there and basically impose himself on the Israeli government and basically say, we're going to have peace. The war is over. Stop. And that's what he did. He effectively told them to stop fighting and the war is over. And moving the Overton window, which is what I think Trump has done over the past 5 days, the past week, really. He has moved the Overton window away from a state of war to a state of peace. And he's forcing everybody to buy into it. He's forcing everybody to accept that we are in a state of peace now, because I think we're going to see that peace broken. And when that does happen, it's really important that the Overton window firmly be in the peace sector, so that when the peace is broken, we can all look at, all right, who broke the peace? Why did they break it? Now, how do we fix it? Because I don't think this is over. But I wanted to play a little bit of this. So the whole video is only 40 minutes. We're not going to watch the whole thing. The first 15 minutes of it is just Fattah al-Sisi. Maybe it's 10 minutes. And this clip I have, I think they cut it off. It's like Sisi spoke forever, it felt like. And then, maybe it's 10 minutes he spoke. And then he introduces Trump. So we don't need to listen to Sisi speak. The woman who was, by the way, translating for Sisi, you need to get a different translator, because she was struggling to, I suspect that she had the speech in front of her when she was reading it, because he had a prepared speech, but she was struggling to translate it. So anyway, Trump didn't really speak for that long. I really want to skip ahead to when he brings in the Pakistan prime minister, but let's listen to the first minute or two of him speaking.
Well, thank you very much, and that was a great honor. I appreciate it very much, Mr. President, Mr. General, Mr. President, great General, great President. Thank you very much. This is the day that people across the region and around the world have been working, striving, hoping, and praying for. They have done things over the last month that I think were really unthinkable. Nobody thought this could happen. With the historic agreement we've just signed, those prayers of millions have finally been answered. As you know, the hostages have been returned, and further work goes on having to do with the, sadly to say, bodies. Together we've achieved what everybody said was impossible. At long last, we have peace in the Middle East, and it's a very simple expression, peace in the Middle East, and we've heard it for many years, but nobody thought it could ever get there, and now we're there. I want to congratulate everybody sitting in these first few rows and standing behind me. I don't know why they chose to stand, but I promise I'll make it short, okay? We are not going to keep you standing for long. These are great leaders. After years of suffering.
That's worth noting, and maybe we'll listen to him speak for a few minutes, because he says, I don't know why all of y'all are standing. He says that multiple times throughout the speech. And what's notable is that the people standing behind him are not the Middle East leaders. It's the European leaders standing behind him. The first, he points out, he goes through, he pulls a list out, and he starts going through and naming all the people, thanking all the people. And some of the Europeans he's thanking, but he's really thanking all the Muslim leaders, the Middle East leaders. And they're all seated in the first few rows. The only Muslim leader that's up there that I could tell was the Pakistan prime minister, who he actually calls him up to speak. He's the only person he calls up to speak in the whole thing. It's very clownish, in my opinion, very clownish that all these European leaders felt the need to get up on stage with Trump, and he kind of mocks him for it. So anyway.
And bloodshed, the war in Gaza is over. Humanitarian aid is now pouring in, including hundreds of truckloads of food, medical equipment, and other supplies, much of it paid for by people in this room. Civilians are returning to their homes. The hostages are reuniting. I mean, it's beautiful. I'm just watching it backstage. The level of love and sorrow, I've never seen anything like it. It's amazing when you see they haven't seen their mother, their father. They haven't seen them in such a long time, and they lived in a tunnel, a very little tunnel, very deep. And the level of love is just incredible. It's a beautiful thing to see. It's, in one sense, it's so horrible that it could have taken place, but in another sense, it's so beautiful to see a new and beautiful day is rising, and now the rebuilding begins. The rebuilding is maybe going to be the easiest part. I think we've done a lot of the hardest part because the rest comes together. We all know how to rebuild, and we know how to build better than anybody in the world. I want to express my tremendous gratitude to the Arab and Muslim nations who helped make this incredible breakthrough possible, and you really did. To President El-Sisi of Egypt, who is so generously hosting us today. And I want to thank you for the outstanding job your country is doing in so many different ways and for helping us so much with this peace agreement. I also want to thank the President for the escort of 6 fighter jets. Oh, we looked out the window, we said, I hope they're friendly, and they turned out to be very friendly. But we had 3 on each side, and they are beautiful.
Okay, so the more I think about this, Matt Arrett texted me earlier. He's traveling across Europe, as some of you may know. So he's not going to be able to join me on Breaking History tomorrow. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe we will spend a little more time on this than I'd originally planned on this speech, because there are some things he says that are just really, really notable. I really wanted to focus on the Pakistan Prime Minister, and we will. But he makes some comments. He goes on and on and on about the fighter jets here, and that's strange or notable considering what we were talking about for the past several weeks with Erdogan. So let's go ahead and analyze this whole speech. It's only about a 25-minute speech, and then I'm probably just going to end up doing an extension of Geopolitics with Ghost tomorrow on Breaking History. So anything we don't get to today geopolitically, and there's so much to talk about besides this situation, we'll just continue tomorrow on Breaking History, I think.
He's right out of the great, really American manufacturing hub. We make the greatest military equipment in the world. We have the strongest military in the world by far. And I knew exactly what those planes were, and I knew exactly how much you paid for those planes, too. You paid a lot, but you got a pretty good deal. And they are great planes, and we just appreciate it. That was quite an escort in. It was very impressive. But Air Force One was really, it was covered with Egyptian desert just a few months ago. If you think about it, just a few months ago, it was Egyptian desert, and now it was just a few feet off our window. And it was a spectacular sight, and I appreciate it very much. Really, that was pretty good. You got our people by surprise. I don't know if they...
Okay, so I'm going to let him keep going here in a minute, but before we do, I just want to point out what he's talking about. So again, like, just think about what we were talking about for weeks. So this is from Dan Scavino. Congratulations to Dan Scavino for his for being appointed to basically be the gatekeeper between Trump and the deep state. These are all F-16s. I know that. I can recognize those. Those are all F-16s. So the planes that we were talking about for weeks, F-16s. He said that there were 3 on either side. There's 6 total. Those are all F-16s. Here's the video that Scavino posted, and they just come out of nowhere, and they just are flanking Air Force One. Very tight formation. Okay, so the reason I just wanted to point that out. And let's go back to Trump, because he's going to keep going on this. And remember, these are the planes that Erdogan had purchased, and we hadn't delivered them yet. And we'll see.
They were thrilled right at the beginning, but they were thrilled as we sailed along very, very calmly and safely. And I'm deeply honored to receive from you, Egypt's highest state honor, the Order of the Nile. The Nile is so beautiful, so magnificent. It's such a beautiful title, the Order of the Nile. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Appreciate it. Great honor. I also want to give a very special...
Let's look into that for a second, too, since we're going to just do this whole thing. The Order of the Nile. established in 1915, was one of the Kingdom of Egypt's principal orders until the monarchy was abolished in 1953. It was then reconstituted as the Republic of Egypt's highest state honor. The order was established in 1915 by Sultan Hussein Kamel of Egypt for award to persons who had rendered useful service to the country. Because remember, Egypt was under Ottoman control. And then after World War I, the monarchy is established in 1953. Monarchy is abolished and replaced with a democracy. And that's when Nasser comes in, and he's vilified by the West, even though as I've studied and learned in more recent times, that I think he was probably much more of an earnest actor than he's given credit for. It ranked beneath the Order of Ismail and was required. It was frequently awarded to British officers and officials serving in Egypt, as well as distinguished Egyptian citizens. After Egypt became a republic in 1953, and the Order of the Nile was reconstituted to serve as Egypt's highest state honor, it now consists of a collar and a grand cordon. Although the 5-class structure of the original 1915 order was mentioned when the order was restructured in 1953, the 4 more junior grades are no longer awarded. So this is just a high state honor, and it's been awarded to a number of people. Anyway, let's continue.
Thanks to the Emir of Qatar, a man who's outstanding. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, long before politics, and he's a fantastically respected man. His Highness Sheikh Tamim is respected by everybody. He's respected by everybody, and in the most positive way, not only because of power, because of his heart. He's got a tremendous heart, and he's a great leader, and his country loves him. Thank you very much for being here. It's an honor. Let me also express our condolences to the Qataris on the tragic car crash that claimed the lives of your cherished diplomats, some of whom were known by our people, and they were supposed to be incredible people. So please extend our sorrow and best wishes. That was tough. That was really tough. On this extraordinary
That's a sketchy
occasion,
story, by the way. That's a sketchy story. The Qatar officials being killed in a car crash is a really sketchy story. And the official story is that I think they were taking a curve and an exit ramp, and I'm sure these guys probably drive really fast. I've seen like the Secret Service drive around. They drive super fast, so maybe that's just a common practice among security. But I guess they were going too fast around a curve, like an on ramp or an exit ramp, and the car rolled over several times and killed 3 of the diplomats. Trump said that they knew them, like they were working with them, and I don't know, man. The timing of this is very strange, very, very strange.
I also want to give our sincere thanks to President Erdogan of Turkey. He's always there when I need him. He's such a tough guy. He is tough as you can be, but we love him. And when they have a problem with you, they always call me to handle it. And usually I come through. We just have a...
Okay, so I got to point this out. Like, look at what Meloni does back here behind Trump. Like, she kind of like covers her mouth like she's trying to cover up her laughter. Look at Keir Starmer kind of like scowling. Not scowling, but he's kind of like, are you really saying this right now? He's talking about Erdogan. He's saying when they have a problem with me, and he's referring to NATO, he's referring to Starmer, he's referring to Macron, he's referring to Brussels. And he's looking into the audience because all the Muslim leaders, like I said, are in the crowd. They're not up on stage. My guess is that the Pakistan prime minister got up there because he's going to speak, and then everyone else just went up there and stood next to him.
As you can be, but we love him. And when they have a problem with you, they always call me to handle it. And usually I...
Look, Starmer is like, I can't believe you just said that, and Meloni's laughing.
Come through. We just have a good relationship, and we have from the beginning. And so I want to thank you very much and say hello to your wife, your beautiful wife. And it's great to be with you. Always there. When I need him, he's always there. Thank you very much.
All right, so let's talk about that, because that is one of the points of the speech that I was originally planning on discussing. And what do you mean by that, Mr. Trump, Mr. President? Well, I think what he means is he's referring to this story, which right here. Trump planned to invite Netanyahu to Gaza summit aborted after Erdogan warning. Turkish president threatens to pull out of Sharm el-Sheikh conference unless Israeli PM's attendance ruled out. A last-minute plan by Donald Trump to invite Benjamin Netanyahu to a multinational Gaza summit in Egypt had to be aborted after the Turkish president Recep Tayyip Erdogan said he would not land his plane in Sharm el-Sheikh if the invitation stood. The mid-air power struggle started after it was announced that the Israeli prime minister had accepted a late invitation for Trump to the conference being jointly chaired by the U.S. president and his Egyptian counterpart, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, in Egypt. Netanyahu's presence at the summit in Sharm el-Sheikh had apparently been sealed by Trump in a phone call from Israel on Monday morning with Sisi. It was not clear, or it is not clear, if Erdogan's refusal to land for the summit was the cause of Netanyahu changing his plans, but it is known that he spoke to Sisi to raise his objections from the plane above Egypt. A statement from the Israeli Prime Minister's office said, quote, Prime Minister Netanyahu was invited by U.S. President Trump to participate in a conference taking place today in Egypt. The Prime Minister thanked President Trump for his invitation, but stated that he would not be able to attend due to the proximity of the event to the start of the holiday. Figures on the extreme right in Netanyahu's coalition government had also threatened to resign if he went to the conference. There's your narrative shielding. International Criminal Court arrest warrants have been issued against Netanyahu for alleged war crimes in Gaza. And while Egypt is not a signatory to the court, his presence at the summit would have been contentious, including among those Arab states that have not normalized relations with Israel. More than 20 world leaders were due to attend the hastily arranged summit. The row about Netanyahu's presence shows how hard it will be for some Muslim countries to normalize relations with Israel in the way Trump wants. Pictures of Erdogan negotiating with Netanyahu or shaking hands with the Israeli leader would have been disastrous for the Turkish leader domestically, and would have also about Ankara's planned role in the international stabilization force that is due to look after security in Gaza. Erdogan has repeatedly called Israel's actions in Gaza a genocide. Yeah, so and that was the hubbub going around, was that Erdogan was in Egyptian airspace, found out that Netanyahu was coming, and said, "Oh hell no!" Picks up the phone and starts making phone calls, and then says, "I'm not landing my plane. I'm turning around going to Turkey if Netanyahu is there." And optically, I think it's much more important for Erdogan to be there, as strange as it might sound, than Netanyahu. Because again, the more significant factor here is not Israel capitulating to this. The more significant factor is Egypt and Turkey working together to make peace, because Egypt and Turkey for 10 years did not have diplomatic relations because Erdogan and Turkey had backed the Muslim Brotherhood's Arab Spring overthrow of the Egyptian government in 2011. And then when Sisi and his generals did the counter coup with the military in 2013 and threw the guy who was president in prison, he died in trial. He had a heart attack in the courtroom in 2019. Yeah, very, very strange. But they did not restore relations until I think it was November 2023 when MBS, the Saudi Crown Prince, facilitated that, because Sisi is MBS's guy. And so he was the one who facilitated the phone call between Sisi and Erdogan. And then eventually Sisi, I think it was Sisi went to Turkey first and visited with Erdogan. And then Erdogan, I believe, eventually went to Egypt and visited with Sisi. So that's a much more important relationship right now in this moment than Netanyahu. But it's really, really interesting that we have this peace deal being signed between Israel and Hamas, and neither Israel nor Hamas are at the peace summit. I mean, can anybody explain that to me? You have a peace summit, and the two parties who are involved in the war, or neither one of them are being represented at the peace summit. I guess technically Abbas is speaking for Hamas, even though he is not. They are not one and the same. They're actually enemies. But considering that the Palestinian Authority is going to be in part taking over Gaza, Hamas no longer speaks for Gaza. So anyway,
Very much, Mr. President.
Oh, and then the other article that I have here that I wanted to share. This would be a good way to do it. We're going to weave in some of the news with Trump's speech. So very strange for Trump to say he's always there when I need him, when technically, according to the official narrative, Erdogan undid Trump's plan. Trump did this last minute invite for Netanyahu, and then Erdogan kind of undermines it by saying, well, if he's going, I'm not going. But again, this is the pattern that we've seen. Trump humiliating Netanyahu while ostensibly propping him up. Ostensibly, Trump is supporting Netanyahu because he invited them when nobody else would. But then the other people were saying, well, I'm not going to go if he's going to go. And Netanyahu says, well, I already have other things I need to attend to. And by the way, Trump, if I go, the guys in my security cabinet are going to resign and my government's going to collapse. Okay, well, then you probably shouldn't go. Still humiliating. So here's the other article is Syrian and Turkish armies to cooperate in counterterrorism border control. This is from Sunday. Turkish foreign minister says we do not view Syria's security as separate from Turkey's security. Talks focused on common issues in counterterrorism, border control, enhancing regional stability, and bilateral cooperation. The Syrian Arab Republic and Turkey will collaborate on counterterrorism along their shared border to enhance military cooperation between the two countries. On Sunday, Syrian Foreign Minister Hassan al-Shaybani discussed the issues with Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, Defense Minister Yasar Guler, and General Intelligence Chief Ibrahim Kolm. I think that's how you say his name. Syria's Defense Minister General Khosra and General Intelligence Chief Al-Salama also joined the high-level delegation that visited the Turkish capital, Ankara. The talks focused on common issues in counterterrorism, border control, enhancing regional stability, and bilateral cooperation. They discussed joint training to improve coordination between Turkey and Syria. The Sana news agency reported, quote, we discussed the joint steps that can be taken to ensure Syria's full security while preserving its territorial integrity. Fidan wrote on X, the Syrian administration possesses the determination and resolve to overcome the challenging trials it faces. We do not view Syria's security as separate from Turkey's security, Fidan added. Abu Khosra described the meetings with his Turkish defense counterpart and officials as a significant new milestone in strengthening cooperation between the two armies. He said in a post on X that such collaboration will contribute to establishing security and stability in the region. Ankara has strengthened its relations with Damascus since December after the collapse of the Assad regime last year, which was an ally of Iran and opposed Turkey for supporting rebel groups. Let me see. Let me just make sure this news story isn't new right here. It's not new. It's from the day before, but this is I think this is the story that led in this one right here. It just says Turkey's foreign minister to meet Syrian officials in Ankara. This is the one that preceded the announcement of the strengthened counterterrorism group that came out the day before. So this is, again, an effort to thwart what I think is going to be the play. The play here is going to be Colonel McGregor has speculated about Israeli special forces destabilizing Iran. It would make a lot of sense that those efforts would focus along the border of Iran, Syria, and Turkey, where Kurdistan is, because they would have a friendly environment, so to speak. The Israeli special forces would have friendly environment. The Kurds would support them, would give them everything they needed. And the goal, of course, would be to antagonize Iran into attacking Turkey, even if it was by accident. And then once that happens, it would trigger Article 5. And I suspect if we do see that narrative evolve, even if it's like Iran and Turkey don't even want it to evolve, like they want to keep it under control, I wonder if these people up on stage with Trump, not Meloni, because she's our girl, of course, but the other ones are going to pounce on it and say, well, regardless of whatever Turkey wants, even if Erdogan doesn't want us to get involved, Article 5 is triggered now because Iran has attacked Turkey. I still think that that's going to be the play. It's what I would do if I was Israel. All right, so Trump again, his guy Erdogan.
And I also want to thank, I just spoke to him on the phone, His Royal Highness Crown Prince Mohammed, Saudi Arabia, a special friend of mine. Boy, he's come so long and so far, and he's doing a fantastic job for his country. And I want to just thank him. And,
Talk about our guy. Talk about our guy. And I think MBS is very, very smart. I think he understands this stuff at a level that is probably on par with Trump. He understands optics. He understands these significant moments. He's not at this meeting. He's not at this. King Abdullah is there. A number of other people are there. MBZ is not there. You're going to see Trump in a minute call out for MBZ. Where's MBZ? And he's like, oh, MBZ is not here. Okay. That kind of goes to show you how quickly this whole thing was thrown together. Trump's going to allude to that several times. But I also think MBS, I mean, he's probably busy, I'm sure, but this is something he's been working on for many, many years. He would make time to go to this if he thought his presence there was needed. I think it's actually more significant for him to not be there because remember, the real carrot is the normalization of Saudi Arabia with Israel. But the requirement for that is number one, Israel formally recognizing Palestine, which means a Palestinian state. And number two, restoring the borders of the West Bank to pre-1967, pre-Six-Day War borders. Those are the two caveats in order for Saudi Arabia and Israel to get along. So MBS not physically being there. He does have a delegation there. I think it's Faisal bin Farhan. Trump points them out. He doesn't name them, but I'm pretty sure it's Faisal bin Farhan, I'm sure. But MBS being there would be very symbolic, and that's not a symbolic message he wants to send yet. So he has wisely refrained from going.
His Highness Sheikh Mohammed of the United Arab Emirates is here. Where? He's here someplace. Well, he's not here. But he's here in spirit, I can tell you that. And he's been another one. He's been absolutely incredible, and we appreciate it very much. And
the significance there is that MBZ is MBS's mentor, so to speak, geopolitically speaking. He's the one who told the Saudi elders that he would take him under his wing if MBS was made crown prince and ultimately king. He's not going to be king till his father's dead, but he's effectively been acting as king since 2017. Neither one of them are there because that's him not going, MBZ not going is like a middle finger to Netanyahu, because Netanyahu, ever since the UAE formalized or normalized relations with Israel in 2020, the UAE has been Israel's best ally. They've normalized not only political and military relations, but trade, tourism. Like, there's a ton of Israeli tourists in the UAE. A lot of gestures have been made by the UAE on behalf of Israel in order to like normalize it. And from the perspective of MBZ and the Emiratis, they feel like they've been deeply disrespected by Israel, the way that Israel has treated the Arabs in general, but specifically the Palestinians. They actually expelled the Israeli diplomats months ago because apparently some sort of incident happened at like a party or something where the Israeli ambassador to the UAE did something very inappropriate in front of a bunch of people. And it couldn't be forgiven effectively. They like summoned him, they scorned him, and then they decided to expel him from the UAE. So I don't know what that was. I mean, you have to imagine that despite the laws that exist there regarding decency and public displays of affection with women, you have to imagine, I mean, there's all these Instagram thoughts who are always posting pictures of themselves like in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and stuff. So you got to think that the elites there understand that women come there and are brought in there, and those sort of public displays are going to happen at those kind of events, those kind of parties. So I don't think it was something like he kissed a woman in front of people. I think he did something really inappropriate that apparently was unforgivable. It's notable. But him not being there, MBS not being there, there's an explanation for that. That makes sense. MBZ not being there is a big slight towards Israel, an insult really, not towards Trump, but towards Israel. They're the ones who orchestrated the Abraham Accords with Qatar.
His Majesty King Abdullah of Jordan, and thank you very much, King Abdul of Jordan. He's here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And you really have been a great helper. We appreciate it. Appreciate it. Prime Minister Sharif of Pakistan, and also I have to say my favorite field marshal from Pakistan, who's not here, but the Prime Minister is here, and you're going to give his regards. Where are you? There you go. Thank you very much. Do you want to say what you said to me?
All right. I got to say, I really enjoy this guy. I really like what he's about to say. First of all, I love how he claps for himself. That was an A+ move because everyone else was very slow to clap for himself or to clap for him. So him clapping for himself, A+ move. The note about the favorite field marshal, I don't know if he's referring to the defense minister from Pakistan, who's very based. But what you need to understand about Pakistan, I think he's up on stage because Trump was already planning on getting him to speak. He kind of does it spur of the moment here where he says, do you want to say what you said to me earlier? But then this guy runs out. You're going to see a guy run out and put like a speech in front of him. So I think this was kind of planned out. Doesn't make sense for anybody else to be up on stage. Trump calls them out for it later again. But the whole Pakistan-India fight, India does not support the peace deal between them and Pakistan. They're angry at Trump for making them do that. Not Modi specifically. I think it's more of like the Indian deep state. There's definitely a good twin, evil twin in India. And while Modi and Trump are good friends, there's a bad element in the Indian government that doesn't want this to happen. And they want war with Pakistan. The Pakistanis, by the way, love Trump. They think he's fantastic. You're going to listen to the emotion and in this guy's voice and on his face when he speaks right here. Listen to what he says about Trump. Pakistan was the first country, by the way, to nominate Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. Okay, and you're going to see what he's about to do on that here in a moment. But they were the ones, that was months ago, months and months and months ago, they nominated Trump for a peace prize as soon as he negotiated the India-Pakistan thing. But listen to what he says.
The other day, and come, would you like to say what you said the other day? I think it was so nice. Please.
Thank you very much, my dear President Trump.
There's the speech.
My dear brother, President Fatil Sisi of Egypt.
Love the emotion, but I'll be quiet.
Majesties, Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good evening. Well, I would say today is one of the greatest days in contemporary history because peace has been achieved after untiring efforts led by President Trump, who is genuinely a man of peace, who has relentlessly and untiringly worked throughout these months, day in and day out, to make this world a place to live with peace and prosperity. I would say that Pakistan had nominated President Donald Trump for Nobel Peace Prize for his outstanding, extraordinary contributions to first stop war between India and Pakistan and then achieve ceasefire along with his very wonderful team. And today, again, I would like to nominate this great president for Nobel Peace Prize because I genuinely feel that he is the most genuine and most wonderful candidate for Peace Prize because he has brought not only peace in South Asia, saved millions of people, their lives. And today, here in Sharm el-Sheikh, achieving peace in Gaza is saving millions of lives in the Middle East. Mr. President, I would like to salute you for your exemplary leadership, visionary leadership. And I think that you are the man this world needed most at this point in time. World would always remember you as a man who did everything, went out of the way to stop 7 and today 8 wars. I would like to thank my very dear brother, Sheikh Tamim. He's Akhal Shakir.
I'm sorry, I was muted. The emotion that this guy just puts out there when he says that, he says, "You're the only person who could have done this." I think he's speaking totally from the heart. That you saw the guy run up and put the speech in front of him, but he didn't speak from his prepared notes. He just spoke from the heart, I think. And you have to remember that Pakistan, we destroyed Pakistan because we went into Pakistan in the 1970s, the 1960s. We built them madrasas, we radicalized their kids, and then we used them as the staging ground for the Mujahideen in Afghanistan under Jimmy Carter and Zbigniew Brzezinski. That was where, like Brad covered this in Codex 9/11, where we sent them billions of dollars and they paid these fighters, these mercenaries from all over the world. They came to all over the Middle East. They came to Pakistan. They were given money by the Pakistani government that we gave to them. And then they went into Afghanistan to fight the Soviets. And the whole idea was to like create a Vietnam for Russia. And the defense minister of Pakistan, we covered it on the show, one of the first episodes I did, when he gave that interview to RT, he explained how the West created jihad and the West basically destroyed Pakistan in order to create jihad. And I think all of that's been coming like we're undoing all of that. We're fixing all of that. And you got to imagine from their perspective, from this guy's perspective, the fact that Trump had the strength to do it. These European leaders, especially the guys on the right, because you got Carney there. I consider Canada to be a European country. Qatar is next to him, the head of the UN, and then Merz, the head of Germany, next to him. They look very uncomfortable right now. They're sitting there scratching their head. They're kind of shifting around. They're looking at the floor because, yeah, they haven't really been Trump's biggest fan, and you're going to hear Trump say something about that later. But let's continue.
Who has really worked very hard along with others to achieve peace in this region. My very dear brother, President Tayyip Erdogan, His Majesty, King Abdullah, and of course, my very dear brother, Mohammed bin Zayed of UAE, and of course, my very dear brother, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And he has also been very, very helpful and contributed very valuably in this wonderful peace process. Ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't want to take more of your time. Suffice it to say, had it not been for this gentleman, not only, who knows, India and Pakistan are both nuclear powers. Had he not intervened along with his wonderful team, during those 4 days, the war could have escalated to a level. Who would have lived to tell what happened? And similarly, here in this part of the world, in the Middle East, Mr. President, your valuable contribution along with President Sisi, I think history will remember in golden words. I wouldn't say more, except God bless you, God give you long life to serve like this for all time to come. Thank you very much. Very kind.
Yeah, it's so you'll notice that he almost sounds Indian. This guy's a Muslim, but that's because Pakistan is an extension of India, much closer aligned culturally and historically to India than Arabia. And I point that out just to understand the ethnic and cultural differences between Pakistan and Arabia. And he's sitting there calling out all of the Arabs, Tamim, Al-Sisi, MBS, MBZ, I mean, this is what Trump would call a love fest. You got a love fest here of people who just a few short years ago did not get along. They did not get along well at all. Even among the Arabs didn't get along with one another. And now you have all the Muslims who are totally on the same page, at least as far as geopolitical conflict goes. And it's going to become much easier for them to get along when it comes to smaller issues like trade, cultural exchange, that kind of thing.
Thank you. Wow, I didn't expect that. Let's go home. There's nothing more I have to say. Goodbye, everybody. That was really beautiful and beautifully delivered. Wow, thank you very much. Also with us is President.
I mean, just keep an eye on this guy right here, Carney. His head is behind this like teleprompter glass thing. This is the head of Canada. This is who I would consider Trump's arch nemesis on the geopolitical stage. He's the banker in chief, the head central banker, and you're going to hear Trump make some comments about not liking certain people. And watch Carney when he says that. That might not be for a few minutes.
Prabowo, a very incredible man of Indonesia. President, come in.
And I want to show you something on that note from Indonesia. All right, where is it? It is. Where's that video? We got right there on the screen. The FIFA guy was invited, but not Netanyahu. All right. Well, I'm going to keep playing the video and I'll find this clip. But it was a hot mic moment. Let me see if I can just pull it up on the X. A hot mic moment between the Indonesian president and Trump. And I think it's worth watching. Here it is. Okay. So you can't hear it, so I'm just going to turn the sound off and I'm going to read it. But just note the guy's like the expression of emotion on his face. He was this Indonesian president was one of the guys at that the meeting that was organized at the UN in New York between Trump and all the Muslim leaders. Indonesia was randomly there. It was all the Arabs plus Turkey plus Pakistan and then randomly Indonesia. But look at the seriousness on his face. He says, as Indonesia's president asked Trump if he can meet with sons Eric and Don Jr. in a hot mic moment. He says, he says it's in a region not safe security-wise. This is what the president's saying. He's telling Trump he's not safe. He's like, we're in a part of the world that's not safe right now. He said, can I meet Eric? He's like, I'll have Eric call. He's such a good boy. He said, I'll have Eric call. And he says, and then he says something else you can't hear. But there's a hot mic moment. Let me see if I can turn the sound on. So I don't know if he's referring to like Trump not being safe because you kind of can't catch the whole clip, but I don't know if he's saying that Trump isn't safe right now or if he's saying he looks very worried. He has a very worried look on his face, or if he means that there's some other thing that's happening that's not in a safe region. But Trump is surrounded by friends and enemies at this meeting. I think it's really important to note that, and he's going to mention that too.
Great job. President Abbas of the Palestinian Authority. See, we have them all. We have them all. Good, great. It's good to have you. And so many others. I have a list here. This first three rows and what's standing behind me, I don't know why they chose to stand, but it's there. They're going to be very famous tomorrow. All of them.
Look at what Carney does when he says that. Carney knows he's kind of calling him out.
I really have a list here. This first three rows and what's standing behind me, I don't know why they chose to stand, but it's there. They're going to be very famous tomorrow, all of them. We have the Arab League.
All right, so before we let him run through the list, I'll just point out I put this together, who these people are. Over on the left, you have Orban. He's obviously Trump's guy. You can't quite see him. He's behind Al-Sisi, but Pashinyan, the Armenian leader, I think he's deep state. It's just my opinion, but Matt Arrett and I have talked about him before, and I don't trust him. I'll just say that. El-Sisi from Egypt, he's Trump and MBS's guy, although he could have originally been working for somebody else. I don't know, but he seems to be working with Trump and MBS now. Next to him, you have Sanchez from Spain. He's the guy that Trump said Spain should be expelled from NATO. So him and Trump don't exactly get along, although Sanchez has been, as far as I can tell in his public rhetoric, he's been like the person upsetting the EU and upsetting NATO because he was one of the first to come out hard against Israel and say we shouldn't support Israel. They stopped selling them weapons. So I'm unsure like where he lies, but it seems like he is anti-establishment to some extent. But I think Trump is kind of using a dialectic with him to advance like breaking up NATO, because when he met with the Finnish prime minister last week in the White House, he said, "Are you going to expel Spain from NATO? I think you should expel Spain from NATO," which I think is an interesting idea. Next to him, you have Mitsotakis, I think is how you say his name. He's the Greek prime minister. Next to him, you have our girl Maloney, hidden by Trump. Then, of course, you have Sharif from Pakistan, prime minister of Pakistan. Next to him, you have Starmer from Britain. Then Carney from Canada. Then Antonio Guterres from the UN. Merz from Germany, was recently elected somewhat. I couldn't figure out who this was next to him. I'm not exactly sure who that is, TBD. But anyway, that's the list that I just from facial recognition. All right, let's go back and keep listening.
League is represented by His Excellency, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. We have Armenia, and Azerbaijan. That's a little war that we stopped. That's a little war. There they are. Look at them. They're sitting. When I met with them, it was in the Oval Office. They fought for like 31 years or some crazy number. And they had one sitting on that side of the Oval Office, one sitting. By the time we finished in 1 hour, they were both hugging each other. And now they're friends and they're getting along great. Look at it. So I want to thank you both. That's incredible. Really incredible. So you have Armenia and you have Bahrain, you have Canada. It's so great to have, in fact, the president called and he wanted to know if it's worthwhile. He knew exactly what it was. He knew the importance. Where's Canada, by the way? Where are you? Where are you? He knew the importance of this. He said, I want to be there. So many people have done that. They called. I mean, they heard about it. And these are not people that can do that very easily. They have pretty big schedules, to put it in mind. The most powerful people. And I appreciate you being here very much, Mr. President. Fantastic. Fantastic. And Cyprus, Egypt, the European Union, it's a lot of countries. France, thank you very much, Emmanuel. I would imagine Emmanuel standing someplace behind me. Where is he?
Listen to what he says here.
I can't believe it. You're taking a low-key approach today. He's my friend. That's great. Good job. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Germany, the new chancellor of Germany he's easy to spot because he's very tall and he's very smart and he's doing a fantastic job for his country. Appreciate it very much. And congratulations, a big election. That was a big one. That was going to change things. Greece, we have Greece. We have Hungary. Oh, Victor, where is Victor? Victor. We love Victor. Victor, I call him. You know, I put the little accent on it. You are fantastic, all right? I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I'm the only one that matters. You are fantastic. He's a great leader. I endorsed him the last election he had, and he won by 28 points. So you're going to do even better this time. You have another election, and you're going to do great, and we appreciate it. And we're behind you 100%. That's Hungary. India is a great country with a very good friend of mine at the top, and he's just done a fantastic job. And I think that Pakistan and India are going to live very nicely together, right? That's not a very, they are. And they're two great, I tell you, leaders, great leaders as far as I'm concerned. Indonesia, we covered, and I just want to say that that's a big country, a powerful country. It does unbelievably well, and it's great to have you. Iraq, we have Iraq with lots of oil. They have so much oil, they don't know what to do with it. That's a big problem when you have so much, you have no idea what to do with it. So thank you very much thank you very much. Italy, we have a young woman who's, I'm not allowed to say it because usually it's the end of your political career if you say it. She's a beautiful young woman. Now, if you use the word beautiful in the United States about a woman, that's the end of your political career, but I'll take my chances. Where is she? There she is. You don't mind being called beautiful, right? Because you are. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it.
Our girl.
She wanted to be here, and she's incredible, and they really respect her in Italy. She's a very successful politician. We have Norway. Oh, Norway. Norway.
And when I say that, by the way, I don't mean our girl like the way Burning Bright means our boy. I mean, she's a sovereign bro. She's a sovereign alliance bro. But she's our girl, meaning that she's the one going in there and screwing up all these other guys' plans in NATO and the EU with her fiery Italian ways. And then this is Trump. He's about to call out Norway for snubbing him on the Nobel Peace Prize.
What happened, Norway? What happened? Where's Norway? Where is he? We have Johnny. We're going to the World Cup. I can tell you that. Where's Norway? I don't think he wants to stand. Oh, he's back there. Well, we have Norway. Oman. Again, we have Paraguay. We have really fantastic representative from Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, and this time we'll get you the best seat. He always gets the best seat. He deserves the best seat. But what a great place it is. Spain.
So he doesn't name who it is, but I'm going to go look. I'm almost positive it's got to be Faisal bin Farhan, who I said during the Biden administration was probably the most important diplomat in the world, aside from maybe Lavrov, because I think he's the one who went around and started the trend of bilateral relations using the public investment fund as the negotiating chip to get individual countries to meet with them and then sign bilateral agreements outside of the confines of these regional governing blocks, regulatory agencies such as the EU, such as NAFTA, such as what would have been the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Spain. With Spain. Are you guys working on him with respect to the GDP? We'll get close. We'll get close. But
he told you he's calling him out for not because he refuses to contribute to NATO, which I think is based. So I think Sanchez is based because he's like, yeah, I'm not going to give you more of my money to fund like a military alliance that I don't really believe in. And Trump's like, all right, well, if you're not going to give us money, then we should expel you. Yeah, accelerate.
Fantastic job you're doing. And UAE, which is great. United Kingdom. Where's United Kingdom? Where's my friend? Where? Come here. Is everything going good? Very good. It's very nice that you're here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice, and I think it's fantastic. And we have so many others, and just so many others. And
so he's about to throw out some real signal here that is going to be hilarious and very insightful. Before he says that, remember, he called out Emmanuel Macron. He said, "You're my friend." Starmer, he brought up and, patted him on the head like a good boy. Remember, Marco Rubio, like 2 days ago, was talking about how these two guys screwed up negotiations with Hamas because they recognize the state of Palestine. So they're not in alignment. Like France and Britain, I think, are doing what Trump wants them to do, but it's not what the deep state wants them to do. It's not what the State Department wants them to do. It's not like Marco Rubio, I think, is earnestly expressing the view of the State Department, of the deep State Department. Doesn't necessarily mean I think Rubio is a bad guy, although he might be. I don't know. He does certain things that makes me raise an eyebrow at him. I think Trump's working him to the bone. I do think that. But anyway, let's listen to what Trump says here.
It's such a compliment to what we're doing because what we've done is something very unique and very special. So it's perhaps the wealthiest and most powerful group of nations ever assembled at one time, which is a big thing. We have achieved together in recent days a change that really is historic, and it's going to be remembered forever. And I want to thank the American team for their amazing work, and I want to thank, I think he'll go down as the greatest Secretary of State in the history of our country. I really believe that.
Listen to what he says about Rubio, just the aside at the end.
Marco, I wouldn't say it. Marco Rubio, I wouldn't say it. Maybe I would.
Maybe I would.
You're doing a great job. I'll tell you, he's on course to do it. We've done a lot of work in 9 months. We've done a lot of work. I say that, 1 year ago, a little more, but 1 year ago, America, the United States of America was a dead country. The king told me, and I use that, he said, sir, 1 year ago, it was a dead country. Today, you have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and it is. It's the hottest country. So many investors are here. We have over $17 trillion being invested in the United States, which is a record that nobody has ever beaten.
I think he's referring to Abdullah. I think he's referring to the King of Jordan, who I've played clips of him before. He speaks like you. If you listen to him speak, you'd think he was an American. He has no accent whatsoever, very westernized.
I don't think anybody will. And we still have 4 months to go before it's a year. So in 8 months, we have over 17 trillion. We're actually very close to $18 trillion. There's never been, as an example, the previous administration had less than $1 trillion over 4 years. We have, we're close to breaking $18 trillion in 8 months. That's pretty amazing. No country's ever done that. I want to also thank Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and my son-in-law and a great guy, Jared Kushner. And I even have my daughter here, Ivanka. Ivanka, please stand up. Ivanka's here. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Ivanka. We have a great team, and we have, as you know, General Raisin Kane. We have John Radcliffe. We have Tom Barrack. We have really a lot of good talent. We have Pete Hegseth, who's now Department of War, as opposed to Department of Defense. We made a little change. Somehow I like the name better, so do you, so do a lot of people. But the momentous breakthrough that we're here to celebrate tonight is more than the end of the war in Gaza. It's with God's help, it'll be the new beginning for an entire beautiful Middle East. From this moment forward, we can build a region that's strong and stable and prosperous and united in rejecting the path of terror once and for all. We want to get rid of the terror and get on to other things. There are many other things in life that are so good. The final sprint to this deal began less than 3 weeks ago on the sidelines of the United Nations in New York. I met with many of the people in this room, and it all just started coming together. I've known so many of you for so long. You're friends of mine. You're great people. I have a couple I don't like in particular, but I won't tell you who. I have actually a few of them I don't like at all. But you'll never find out who they are.
Okay, I want to rewind that. That's what I was waiting for. Watch Carney's face when he says, "I don't like him at all." He's definitely talking about Carney, among others. By the way, from this moment forward, that is a callback to the 2017 inauguration. It's in the intro for John's Devolution Power Hour intro. From this moment forward, it's a new day, right? We are returning power to the people. It's a callback to that moment, I think. Except he's applying that template now to the Middle East as opposed to the U.S.
Well, maybe you will come to think of it. Terror, once and for all. We want to get rid of the terror and get on to other things. There are many other things in life that are so good. The final sprint to this deal began less than 3 weeks ago on the sidelines of the United Nations in New York. I met with many of the people in this room, and it all just started coming together. I've known so many of you for so long. You're friends of mine. You're great people. I have a couple I don't like in particular, but I won't tell you who. I have actually a few of them I don't like at all, but you'll never find out who they are. Well, maybe you will, come to think of it. But I have most of you who I like a lot, and I respect a lot. Maybe that's more important. We listened, and we exchanged ideas, and we kept pushing forward until the job was done, and the first steps to peace are always the hardest. And today we've taken them and we've put them all together, and we've come up with this beautiful mix like nobody thought was possible. And as you know, I've just come from Israel. It was an amazing day to watch the hostages come in and to watch all of the other things and do all of the other things that we did. And like all of us here this evening, the Israeli people are overjoyed that the war has ended. Many of you have had dancing in the streets. They had dancing in the streets. And they've been dancing for weeks now once they heard about this, and they heard that it was even a possibility. They're elated at the arrival of the hostages and excited to begin this new chapter for the entire region, and it's going to be that, and they are going to be great partners, and I hope everybody's going to join the Abraham Accord. I like to say the Avraham. I love Avraham. But somehow it doesn't sound as good when I say it as it does when some of my other friends say it who are from the region. But we're going to get a lot of people joining the Abraham Accords. We have the 4 great nations that did it early on, and they stayed with it. And then you had the Biden administration, which is the worst administration in the history of our country. And obviously, they did nothing on that and anything else. And so it stayed at 4. And now a lot of people, even today, they're talking about all joining up. So many people have talked to me about that. And it's going to be a great tribute to really the United States. I mean, the United States has worked very hard in the Middle East, so it would be a tribute to us and to Jared and to Steve and to all of the people, Marco, all of the people that have worked so hard on that. And it really is going to it's going to guarantee that it all stays together. You're going to do well, because the 4 nations do very well. I mean, they do extremely, they're wealthy, but they're a lot wealthier because of it. So I hope everybody's now joining up. Now we have no excuses. We don't have a Gaza, and we don't have an Iran as an excuse. That was a good excuse, but we don't have that anymore. All the momentum now is toward a great glory.
See, he's reiterating, I ended the war in Iran. There's no reason to have a war with Iran now. There's no reason to have a war over Gaza. Those 2 things are done. But are they actually done?
And lasting peace, and our commitment to fulfilling the 20-point plan we developed together will be the crucial foundation for achieving that bright future. And it's being worked on right now as we speak. And we're actually in stage 3 and 4. It's not going to be, just divided down so simply. We can be long advanced on some of the things that we say we're going to do. We can take them out of order in a positive way. And we've shown how it can be done with responsible nations like the people in this room, these incredible people in this room, setting aside their differences, seeking common ground, and pursuing a better world for all of us. And that spirit's my dream, that we all get together and enjoy our life. And we're going to put some of you on the Board of Peace. Everybody wants to be on the Board of Peace. They said, would you be the chairman? I say, I'm pretty busy too. But whatever we can do to have peace in the Middle East, it's worth it. But everybody wants to go on the Board of Peace, so we're probably going to enlarge it. We're going to get, and the leaders, the top people, the top leaders, they want to be on the Board of Peace. A beautiful term. At first I wasn't sure, and then I realized how beautiful it is. And for the people of Gaza, the focus now must be on restoring the basics of a good life. We're going to have a lot of money coming into Gaza and a lot of rebuilding and building. It's not so much rebuilding, it's really building. Cleaning up and building. And I'm pleased to announce that numerous countries of great wealth and power and dignity have come forward to me just today and over the last week to say they want to help in the reconstruction of Gaza, putting up whatever money is necessary. And the money is, of course, it's a lot of money, but it's not much compared to the value or the wealth of these tremendous countries. And they are ensuring stability and success in the Middle East. So when you think about it, it's a very, very small amount of money is necessary, relatively speaking. And as those commitments are made, I'm going to let the world know who is doing it, because they really deserve great credit for doing it, and they're going to do something that's really monumental. This is a monumental day. This is a monumental moment in the history of the world beyond the Middle East. We've all agreed that supporting Gaza must be done to lift up the people themselves, but we don't want to fund anything having to do with bloodshed, hatred, or terror, as has happened in the past. And for the same reason, We're also agreed that Gaza's reconstruction requires that it be demilitarized and that a new, honest civilian police force must be allowed to create a safe condition for the people in Gaza. As I said earlier, I intend to be a partner in securing a better future. We're going to be working, you're going to be working with the United States, and we're going to make sure that the Middle East is going to be a safe and secure place. It's a very important place in the world, means so much. There were so many people who said the Middle East, and this has been going for many, many decades. I've read it many times, that World War III will begin in the Middle East. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. There was a time that you would have thought it could have, but it's not going to happen. There won't be World War III, hopefully at all, but it's not going to start in the Middle East. We're not going to have a World War.
There's some signal right there for you. There's not going to be a World War III. I'm canceling World War III.
War III, if we're smart, there'll never be a World War III. Our work begins right here and right now. From ancient times, this region has been extraordinarily mixed with respect to people, culture, religions, all of the different elements of national characters, unlike maybe anywhere else on earth. And for 3,000 years, there's been conflict. For whatever reason, there's been tremendous conflict, always conflict. But today, for the first time anyone can remember, we have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to put the old feuds and bitter hatreds behind us. And that's why so many people in this room, they didn't get along. Some did, some didn't, but they're getting along now. This has brought the people together. This is the first time the Middle East crisis has brought people together as opposed to driving them apart. And to declare that our future will not be ruled by the fights of the generations past, which is foolish. So together, let us continue in the spirit of cooperation and goodwill that has finally brought us to this incredible, historic breakthrough. If we do, together, we will reach the Middle East's incredible destiny, a safe and prosperous and beautiful crossroads of culture and commerce, faith in humanity and geographic center. This will be the geographic center of the world. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank you all for what you've done and for this quick notice. It all came together just at one little period. It just came together. It's, the greatest deals happen that way. If you do anything about deals, that's all I've done all my life is deals. The greatest deals just sort of happen. And that's what happened right here. And maybe this is going to be the greatest deal of them all, not just nation building, not just having to do with this or the political whims. This will be maybe the greatest deal of them all, period. And I want to thank all of you and all of these great nations and this region for what it's gone through and all of the fights it's had, or life over death and hope over strife and harmony over hatred. That's what we want. We want it to be that way because together we're going to forge a magnificent, great, and enduring peace. I want to just end by saying God bless you all. God bless the Middle East. God bless your countries. And God bless you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. Have faith in humanity. That's from a Q post. The geographic center of the world, that is an MBS narrative. That's what MBS says. That's what he wants to establish as like the new idea with the Middle East. The Middle East is the meeting place of the world because it is the geographic center of the world. All right, let's take a little bit of a break. We'll be back in a second. Geopolitics with Ghost.
They say confidence starts with a smooth skin. And baby, soft disclosure lotion delivers.
I swear by this stuff. Like, I kid you guys not. This is the first lotion I've ever had in my entire life that, like, I don't get ashy after I put it on any part of my body. Like, my hands are always dry, and my hands have not gotten ashy without, like, rinsing them through water and washing them with soap since I started putting soft disclosure on. Like, it is Blackman approved. I kid you not.
Blackman approved. You heard him. And let's be real. If it can handle his hands, it can handle anything.
Feet are like, they get so dry, like the heels of them, it'll just kind of like flake off. Like, but with soft disclosure, once you put it on, like it starts to absorb it.
Yeah, he went there. Don't worry, we won't show you his feet, but trust us, they're smoother too. Soft disclosure lotion is made with aloe, goat's milk, honey, and our exclusive oil blend that actually restores your skin barrier. Visit softdisclosure.com Use code Badlands and get 15% off.
Vanman's taking down big toothpaste with all natural oral care. Just pure, effective ingredients for a healthier smile. The van never stops. Now try Vanman's new chewing gum as well as an all natural alternative to traditional chewing gum with none of the synthetics and plastics found in big name gum. Instead, it has all the tools to remineralize teeth and keep them healthy. Powdered by hydroxyapatite, nature's secret weapon loaded with minerals like eggshells and bone, two of the best forms of calcium to remineralize teeth and build strong bone tissue. Vanman's tooth powder combined with pulling oils and peppermint aloe mouth rinse is truly the ultimate fluoride-free dental hygiene bundle that saves you 25% off the individual prices. Head over to badlandsmedia.tv/Vanman to hop in the van for the ultimate way to cure your teeth naturally. That's badlandsmedia.tv/Vanman. All right. Welcome back to, it's not going to be the second hour. We've been going over a lot the first hour lately. Just once we start something, I don't want to stop halfway through. Makes more sense to just kind of break it up in terms of segments. So thanks again for being here. Ghosts of Geopolitics with Ghost. I'm your host, Gordon McCormick. Hit the thumbs up if you are enjoying this show, and please share it around. So we're going to stay on this this storyline a little bit and just run through some of these headlines. Really want to talk about Venezuela, but that might not come until tomorrow during Breaking History. So if you're interested to hear more about Venezuela and this Nobel Peace Prize, there is a lot of interesting things with this Maria Corina Machado woman and her history, and it's very telling that she was named the Nobel Peace Prize winner. All right, so let's go to Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who Trump continues to credit over and over and over again. Let me pull this up. This is his post. He said, "I wondered if I would ever see this day. It's deeply gratifying to know that so many families will finally have their loved ones home. Today, 20 families are spared the unbearable pain of not knowing if they will ever see their loved ones again. But even in this moment of relief and happiness, my heart aches for those whose loved ones will not return alive. Bringing their bodies home is a must and an act of dignity and honors their memory forever. I can't help but feel the presence of my son, Andrew, at this point. I am profoundly grateful for the indomitable spirit of President Trump. This day would not have been possible without him." And then you have Kirill Dmitriev, who is the Russian special envoy to the U.S., Putin's guy, responding to that with the prayer emoji. And from there, I want to go to Barack Ravid. Where are you at, Barack? Here we go. Okay, so he posted this morning. He says, last Tuesday in an Oval Office meeting, Trump privately granted permission for his envoys, Witkoff and Kushner, to meet Hamas leaders in Egypt if necessary to seal a Gaza deal. He's reposting, or he's quote posting a scoop that he wrote yesterday, saying a dramatic meeting last Wednesday between President Trump's envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner and Hamas leaders headed by Khalil Al-Hayya helped seal the Gaza peace deal. My story on Axios. And remember, this guy, I think he just tells it like it is in terms of being relayed information from the Trump administration. This is from yesterday. It's a picture of Witkoff and Kushner, and I'm going to need to archive it because Axios puts their stuff behind a paywall. Okay, so it says an unusual and dramatic meeting last Wednesday between President Trump's envoys and Hamas leaders helped get the Gaza peace deal across the line. 3 sources with direct knowledge tell Axios. So this is like Trump's team, I think, disseminating information to kind of get the first draft of history written from their perspective. That's because if they don't do this, then people like Netanyahu are going to write the history, and we don't want that. We don't want Netanyahu to write this history. Why it matters. One barrier to a deal was that Hamas leaders feared Israel would resume the war once its hostages were freed. In order to deliver a deal, one of the sources contended Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner had to meet the Hamas leaders in person and directly assure them Trump wouldn't let that happen as long as the group held up its end of the deal. How it happened a day earlier, Trump had, and that's a callback, by the way, to Adam Bowler. Big shout out to Adam Bowler, by the way. Jared Kushner's college roommate. He was the first person back in April who demanded to meet face-to-face with Hamas so he could look these guys in the eye. He's Jewish. I always point that out because, I think it requires an incredible amount of courage, I would imagine, as a member of the Jewish community, to walk into a meeting with Netanyahu and all the Israeli leaders and say, I'm going to do what none of you want me to do and go meet with these guys face-to-face. And then he went on Jake Tapper's show and said, we're the United States. We're not an agent of Israel. We're going to do what we need to do in our own best interest. Just absolutely respect Adam Bowler for doing that. That whole thing from demanding to meet face-to-face with Hamas to going on CNN and telling the Jewish diaspora, which is what he was doing. He was telling the Jewish elite, we are not agents of Israel. We are the United States. He was telling the Zionist Jewish elite that he said these guys don't have horns coming out of their head. They're actually pretty nice guys. Said that twice during the interview. And then, of course, they tried to destroy his life after that. They went after him in the media, and they tried to dig up his past and all the stuff they normally do to people. So that required a tremendous amount of courage and respect to Adam Bowler for doing that. He's also, by the way, the guy in 2020 who, when Trump signed the executive order creating Operation Warp Speed and then implemented the, what was it called? The Defense Production Act, the presidential authority over the Defense Production Act, which allows the White House to take control of certain industries in wartime for the sake of manufacturing. He imbued all of those powers under the Defense Production Act specifically to Adam Bowler. He's the one who actually was acting with presidential authority. And this is, all related to Operation Warp Speed. So I think that's very notable. How it happened a day earlier, Trump had privately granted permission for Witkoff and Kushner to meet Hamas leaders if necessary to seal a deal. When they met in the Oval Office before the pair departed for Egypt. I remember that when they were flying to Egypt last week. After arriving in Sharm el-Sheikh, Witkoff informed the Qatari, Egyptian, and Turkish mediators about Trump's green light on Wednesday night around 11 p.m. local time. The Qatari mediators came to Witkoff's villa at the Four Seasons, said there was a stalemate in talks, and asked if the U.S. envoys were ready to meet Hamas, according to one of the sources. Quote, "We think if you meet them and shake their hand, there will be a deal," a senior Qatari official told Witkoff. Interesting, because that's what Adam Bowler said too. He said, if you want to get a deal done, you got to sit in the room with the people you're negotiating with and look them in the eye. Amazing. Behind the scenes, several minutes later, Witkoff and Kushner walked into another villa at the Red Sea Resort. Arrayed inside were the Egyptian and Turkish intelligence chiefs, senior Qatari officials, and the 4 most senior Hamas official or leaders involved in the negotiations. The Hamas team was led by Khalil al-Hayya, who had survived an Israeli assassination attempt in Doha 3 weeks earlier. In a meeting lasting around 45 minutes, Witkoff told the Hamas officials the hostages were now, quote, more of a liability than an asset to you or for you. It was time to move on with the first phase of the deal and bring people home on both sides of the border, he said, according to one of the sources. Al-Hayya asked if Witkoff and Kushner had a message from Trump. Quote, President Trump's message is that you will be treated fairly and that he stands behind all 20 points of his peace plan and will make sure they are all implemented, end quote. Witkoff said, according to the source. When the meeting ended, the Hamas leaders went to a separate room with the Egyptian, Qatari, and Turkish mediators. Several minutes later, Egyptian spy chief Hassan Rashad returned with his Turkish and Qatari counterparts. Quote, based on the meeting we just had, we have a deal, he told Witkoff and Kushner. Flashback, Okay. So let's just, and they're going to talk about Adam Bowler here in a minute. So what happens here is I speculated before last week that this guy, Khalil al-Hayya, and I don't know his background, but so many Hamas officials and leaders have been killed at this point that this guy probably wasn't groomed for the position he's in right now, versus some of these other Hamas leaders probably were groomed to be Hamas leaders, right? Which means I think he's probably open to influence. He's open to negotiation. What they needed to hear, though, is they needed to hear that President Trump was going to stand behind them and be fair to them. And when they leave Gaza, which is what's going to happen ultimately, they're going to be treated fairly, and they're not going to be just thrown into a van and disappeared, which is what Israel certainly would do to them if left to their devices. And Trump's giving him their word. And by the way, for those who think that this is going to be a bait and switch and that Trump's going to turn around and stab him in the back and, hand him over to whoever, the UN criminal court or Netanyahu or the DOJ or whatever, Trump wrote in his 1987 book, The Art of the Deal, as a negotiator, your word is you are only as good as your word. Once you lose your reputation of giving somebody your word and then going back on it, you can never negotiate again in good faith. So if Trump gave these guys his word that he was going to treat them well and be fair to them, he's going to follow through on that, because if he doesn't, he's never going to be able to give anybody else geopolitically his word and have it mean something. So it's worth pointing that out. It says flashback, the meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh was the second significant direct engagement between Trump and the Trump administration and Hamas. In March, U.S. hostage envoy Adam Bowler had unprecedented meetings with Hamas leaders in Doha in an effort to free American hostage Edan Alexander and retrieve the bodies of 4 other Americans kidnapped by the group. The deal faltered in part due to strong opposition from the Israeli government, which was initially in the dark about the direct negotiations. See? So Adam Bowler was like meeting almost kind of behind their back. I mean, I think he probably was being open about the fact he was doing it. They just weren't in the room with him. He was going in there by himself, effectively, in meeting with Hamas, which in and of itself takes balls. I mean, give credit where credit's due. The bottom line, the willingness of Witkoff and Kushner to meet Hamas leaders despite the political risks involved demonstrated to the group that the U.S. was serious about getting and enforcing a deal. One of the sources contended, quote, "This is why when President Trump's envoys gave their word that this deal would be fully enforced, they believed it." Okay. And so I want to now, real quick, last night I had Cam Cooksey. I see Cam in the chat. What's up, Cam? On the Book of Trump. Some of y'all may have watched. And we covered this summit, this opioid summit from March 1st, 2018. And for those who didn't watch the Book of Trump, I want you to see this. This is a meeting where you have Kellyanne here on the right, and you have, of course, next to her, our guy, Jeff Sessions. I miss Sessions. I wish he would come back. But I want to go to this part where Kellyanne Conway introduces Trump.
For coming forward and helping us on this crisis next door. But every great movement has a leader, and our leader is the President of the United States, and it gives me great honor and pleasure to introduce him to you now, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Well, thank you very much, Kellyanne, and it's an honor to be with you. I just said I was going to stop over, say hello to some of the great families and some friends that have had some incredible difficulty. I know what you're going through. Melania's here someplace. Where is our First Lady? Where is she? Where's Melania? Hello, darling. So she feels so strongly about it. Kellyanne feels so strongly about it. And I do. And a friend of mine, Steve Witkoff, who's a great developer in New York City. Stand up, Steve. I didn't know you were going to be here. Steve had some big difficulty he went through. Steve, come on up here. Steve has been one of my great friends over the years, tremendously successful man. And would you want to just discuss this? Because we're all among friends, or, you know, it's a tough thing to discuss, right? But I was there when he was going through something with a very special boy, right? Go ahead.
I remember the hug you gave me when the world was, when I felt all was lost. I listened to Eric's story. I lost my son in 2011, and he didn't buy drugs on the dark net. He bought drugs on the internet, a website owned by 3 of the largest U.S. corporations in the country today. So it's not just the dark net, but he was a great kid, and he detoxed the first night with me. So he was my special child. So if I lost him, I always felt like hopeless before you were elected. And I've never lobbied my friend about anything. I've just supported you because I so believe in you. But if my son knew that you were going to take up this battle, oh my gosh, he must be upstairs applauding every single day. So I am so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. You take it away.
Okay, so yeah, that's 7.5 years ago. Wickoff, obviously at that point, has nothing to do with the Trump administration. Trump even says, I didn't even know you were going to be here. Wickoff lost his son to an opioid overdose in 2011. He was 21 years old, which makes him about my age. He's like maybe a year younger than me, it sounds like. Maybe 2 years younger than me. So he's probably about, what, John or Burning Bright's age. And you heard him say it right there. So he didn't buy drugs off the dark web. He didn't buy drugs off the street. He bought drugs off of a major U.S. corporation's website. So anyway, he mentions Trump giving him that hug in that moment. There's a lot of stories that go like this, where somebody at their lowest point, Trump reaches out to them and helps them, and then checks up on them regularly. There's so many people who have told variations of that story where Trump did that for them. And those kind of people, I think, develop a loyalty to him that you can't buy. And that's why Trump is able to send Steve Wickoff into these situations and know that Steve Wickoff is going to act in his best interest, in Trump's best interest, and actually do the thing that Trump wants him to do, because Steve Wickoff can't be bought. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says about Wickoff's loyalties or his past or his history or whatever. That's a guy, and that you can see it in that clip, that he is 100% loyal to Trump because of what him and Trump have been through together. And because he can't be bought off or coerced, a man who's lost his son, that makes him an invaluable asset in situations like this, where you have the most dangerous situations in the world, the hardest negotiations, and you're going to send this guy in to meet with people who you're told are so ruthless and so violent that you shouldn't even walk in that room. But Wickoff does with Kushner. So that kind of takes us to, we did the whole Hostage Square clip on Daily on Monday yesterday, and then we did it again this morning. So I don't really think we need to revisit it. But that clip of Wickoff speaking in Hostage Square with Jared Kushner and Ivanka behind him, if you go find it, the 2-minute clip that's all over X, just go to the 47-second mark, and you'll see an interesting number. I just thought about that, 47. But you'll see all of them laughing at Netanyahu when Netanyahu's being booed by 100,000 Israelis purportedly. That is significant, in my opinion. That is a signal, in my opinion. And then now that takes us to this moment, speaking of trust and speaking of giving somebody your word. And remember, the Taliban gave Trump their word. Remember when Trump and them signed the Doha Agreement in 2020, and Trump said, we will leave Afghanistan and give you Afghanistan back. But in return, you need to hunt down terrorists and destroy them on our behalf, the people who operate in your region of the world. And then the Abbey Gate gets bombed, right? The 13 soldiers die. And Joe Biden doesn't go after those ISIS-K guys. In fact, we were told, they made it sound like it was the Taliban's fault that that gate got blown up. And then we later find out, of course, that it was actually ISIS-K, which is the Pakistan affiliate of ISIS. We know now that Pakistan's our guy. Pakistan didn't send those people there. And then who goes and hunts down ISIS-K and kills the people who were responsible for bombing the Abbey Gate? The Taliban, because they gave Donald Trump their word that they would do that. That makes them far more honorable than anybody in American politics. They actually give somebody their word and they do it, and that means something to me. I like those guys a lot more than I like the people in our government. I respect them a lot more than I respect people in my government. I don't care about their cultural values. I don't care about any of that. What I care about is that they say they're going to do something and then they do it, even when that thing is something as hard as going into the wilderness and hunting down terrorists and killing them. They go and they do it because they say they're going to do it. Whereas our politicians exploit us and do everything they can to hurt us. So I don't respect them. That's why. All right. So this moment is huge. This is when Trump is arriving at the summit in Egypt. And of course, we get Mahmoud Abbas. That right there. Let me just clip that, because that is that's the shot right there. All right, so this, of course, is a callback to this moment, and we didn't get to look at all the moments this morning on Badlands Daily, so we'll go ahead and do it now. We'll jump to where Trump speaks.
Here at the White House, President Abbas signed a declaration of principles, very important, which laid the foundation for peace between the Israelis and Palestinians. The President and Mr. President, you signed your name to the first Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement. You remember that well, right? And I want to support you in being the Palestinian leader who signs his name to the final and most important peace agreement that brings safety, stability, prosperity to both peoples and to the region.
We know quite well that this is merely the beginning of a journey that is surrounded by numerous dangers and difficulties, and yet our mutual determination to overcome everything that stands in the way of the cause for peace.
Okay, now we can jump forward to well, actually, you know what? We should listen to what Yasser Arafat says here, because Yasser Arafat, I think you're going to listen to Abbas speak. This is 93, when Abbas and Arafat are doing the Oslo Accords, and I think what they're saying is very, very relevant. They're not oblivious to what they're signing up for. They're not oblivious that this is going to be like a quick, easy thing.
We know quite well that this is merely the beginning of a journey that is surrounded by numerous dangers and difficulties, and yet our mutual determination to overcome everything that stands in the way of the cause for peace, our common belief that peace is the only means to security and stability.
Sayyidati, Sadati.
Mr. President, I am taking this opportunity to assure you and to assure the great American people that we share your values for freedom, justice, and human rights, values for which my people have been striving. My people are hoping that this agreement, which we are signing today, will usher in an age of peace, coexistence, and equal rights. Let me address the people of Israel and their leaders with whom we are meeting today for the first time. And let me assure them that the difficult decision we reached together was one that required great and exceptional courage. We will need more courage and determination to continue the course of building coexistence and peace between us.
Mr. President, it's about time for Israel to end its occupation of our people and of our land. After 50 years, we are the only remaining people in the world that still live under occupation. We are aspiring and want to achieve our freedom, our dignity, and our right to self-determination. And we also want for Israel to recognize the Palestinian state, just as the Palestinian people recognize the state of Israel. Mr. President, I believe that we are capable, under your leadership and your stewardship, to your courageous stewardship and your wisdom, we are, and as well as your great negotiating ability, I believe, with the grace of God and with all of your effort, we believe that we can we can be partners, true partners to you, to bring about a historic peace treaty under your stewardship to bring about peace.
Now, Mr. President, with you we have hope.
To start a process. We've spoken to Bibi Netanyahu. We've spoken to many of the great Israeli leaders. We've spoken with many of your great representatives. Many of them are here today for lunch with us. We'll start a process which hopefully will lead to peace. Over the course of my lifetime, I've always heard that perhaps the toughest deal to make is the deal between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Let's see if we can prove them wrong. Okay? Good. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. So how did I know that Trump was going to do this? Well, because he gave Abbas his word. That's how I knew he was going to do it, because he did it right there in the clip. He said, "I'm going to be the guy who's going to help you do this. I want to make sure you're the leader." But he didn't even make it about himself. I want to make sure you are the leader to bring this to fruition, because you started this process at the time. I guess it was 23, 24 years ago. So then here is that same day from that clip we just watched, wearing a tie, and then here's the meeting with Netanyahu last summer of 2024 at Mar-a-Lago, and I couldn't find any other instance of him wearing the same tie. It's like this one tie he wore two times: the day he met with Abbas in 2017, and the day he met with Netanyahu in 2024. And he put this note out on True Social: "Mahmoud, so nice. Thank you. Everything will be good. Best wishes." And this is, of course, the letter saying how concerned he was about Abbas was about the assassination attempt. And he posted this the night before Netanyahu spoke at the UN with the note saying, "Looking forward to seeing Bibi," right here. "Looking forward to seeing Bibi Netanyahu on Friday, and even more forward to achieving peace in the Middle East, DJT." The night before he spoke at not the UN, but Congress, rather, when he was addressing the two houses of Congress. And then, of course, Netanyahu hosted Erdogan a few weeks ago, the day before Netanyahu goes and addresses the UN. So these little signals are always there. You just got to look out for them. And let's see, I see people in the chat talking about Abbas, like Abba meaning father in the Bible. yeah, I think there's probably a lot to that. I think that's actually a pretty good point because Trump called him a father-like figure to Barack Ravid in a December 2021 interview. God, there's so much good stuff. There's so much, there's one other clip that I want to play. I know we're running up against the clock here, so we'll do this as quickly as we can. This is from the Knesset speech. And, the Knesset speech, it was fine. Like, it was a good speech. There was, like, some moments that CanCon and I covered on Badlands Daily. So if you want to know more about that, you can go watch Badlands Daily. When he calls out Miriam Adelson, I think that was very intentional. I think this is the clip that CanCon was talking about that we couldn't find. Let me see.
Whispers truth into the hills and knolls and valleys of his magnificent creation, and he still writes hope into the hearts of his children all over the world. And that is why even after 3,000 years of pain and conflict, the people of Israel have never given up from the threats of Zionism, from all sorts of threats. You want the promise of Zion. You want the promise of success and hope and love and God. And the people of America have never lost faith in the promise of a great and blessed future for all of us. From the very first day that modern Israel was founded, we have stood together through thick and thin, the thin of setbacks and through victory and defeat. So he still whispers truth into the hills and
Yeah, so I don't think that was the clip, but it's all right. So anyway, we from there, I think we'll probably go ahead and just go ahead and close it down. Let's go ahead and read the hit any rants. If people have questions, feel free to throw them in there. Well, there is this. I read about this in the news brief this morning, but Trump.
Hey, I have an idea. Mr. President, why don't you give him a pardon? Give him a pardon.
Okay, so he's referring to President Herzog giving a pardon to Netanyahu. It's kind of amazing that Netanyahu and that Herzog and Netanyahu aren't getting along because I think if I have my history right, I think Herzog's father was president when Netanyahu was prime minister back in the 90s. So there's like a family relationship there. But this is Trump again, just being Trump. He's in some ways he's kind of humiliating Netanyahu because Netanyahu can't solve his own problem. Daddy Trump has to come in and fix it for him. He's also, this is leverage because he is expressing that, like, yeah, I actually am in control of BB here because BB has his back up against the wall. He's reminding everybody that he has these felony charges he's facing. But, I don't think Trump wants Herzog actually to pardon him, not yet at least. Maybe he will get pardoned. Who knows? But because those pending charges are leverage right now that Trump is keeping Netanyahu on this path for war, which I think all these other people are jumping on the bandwagon so they can exploit the situation and take advantage of it. So, yeah. So tomorrow during Breaking History, we will get deeper into the geopolitical storylines. We'll focus more on like what's happening with Russia, what's happening with Venezuela, what's happening with Maria Corina Machado. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on there. I just wanted to make sure we gave this whole situation its due because we've been talking about it for so long, for so many years. And this is only the beginning. We're only at the beginning of this thing. As Yasser Arafat and Mahmoud Abbas said in 93, this is only the beginning of a road. I don't know how long it'll take, but it's not going to be over quickly, I don't think. I think this is going to be there's a little bit more to go through. All right. Well, let's before we get to rants, let's pull up GART 10 and talk about Cocoa Beach. So November 6th through 9th, which is I think about 3 weeks from now, we're going to be heading back to Cocoa Beach, Florida for GART 10. Really looking forward to this. Cocoa Beach is an awesome facility. I already know of so many people who are going. So many Badlanders have reached out and said they bought a ticket. Really excited for that. I know General Kwas will be there. I believe Oak said that they're going to be there as well. So we're going to have all of our friends there among us. Really looking forward to just everything with this weekend. So please go to badlandsmedia.tv/events. I think until tomorrow, there is a discounted ticket price for both in-person and virtual tickets. I do know that once the discounted time period ends, the tickets are still going to be less than they have been in the past. John was able to get those prices down for both virtual ticket and in person. And I think, as John has explained, the in-person tickets are basically done at cost. There's no like profit margin put in there. That's just to pay for the facility, like the few meals that we provide, all that sort of stuff. So there's no, as far as I understand it, there's no fat built into that, so to speak. So I think he worked with the hotels to get those prices down. And with that said, I look forward to seeing everyone there. We are going to do another virtual live stream for ticket holders, I think on Thursday. More information to come on that. We did the one last week. And then Ash and I think, are going to start doing this Chosen show on Thursday at 1. We're going to do episode 1 of the Chosen. We're just going to go through and we're going to do a watch party book club thing, Badlands Story Hour for every episode of the Chosen. It'll give us a framework for having biblical discussions which a lot of people have been asking for. We'll probably have, I'm sure we're going to have Eric Rice back to join us for episodes. We probably are going to ask some other people to join us as well. Really looking forward to doing this. I think the one that we did last week with Eric Rice was fantastic. So looking forward to that. And then tonight I'm going to be on Zero Dark. I'm sorry, DEF CON 0, Zero Dark 30, DEF CON 0 with Josh Reed and Alpha. And Alpha's been telling me for a very long time that I need to do a show. Like, he wants to get me on a show with Josh Reed. And I've listened to now Josh on their show together, and I'm very impressed with his knowledge of history and geopolitics. So I think that's going to be an awesome show. I'm really looking forward to it. That's at 10:30 Eastern tonight on Badlands. So please join us then. And as far as this show goes, let's hit some rants. Hit the thumbs up if you are enjoying it. So Monty 710, we $10. I'll read your rant again. I appreciate you throwing that in there early. What is your take, if true, on the Palestinian prisoners stating that there are still 2,000 prisoners in Israel that they didn't release? We went through that at the beginning, and yeah, I think there's still plenty of prisoners who haven't been released, and that's going to all need to be resolved. It's going to be part of this whole process that happens as we move out of this. Keith O'Higgins, but thanks for the rant. Keith O'Higgins, hey Ghost, big picture question. Since the Jews have such strict burial rights, what are the religious and then political ramifications of delivering dead bodies after Hebrew laws have been broken? That's a good question, Keith. I don't know. I'm not an authority on that sort of stuff, but it's a good question. I don't know how that's all handled. But cheers to you, Keith. Trumpet, $25. Thank you, Trumpet. Ghost, your willingness and enthusiasm to share your knowledge with us is exceptional. You tied the ends together well. Thank you again. That's very kind of you to say. I appreciate you. I appreciate your support and appreciate you being here in the rant. And yeah, this is something that I've been pretty passionate about for many years, because I do think that I always believe that Trump was going to be doing this, not just because of the Q drops, not just because of the speculation and the promises, but because I do think Trump is a good man, and I think that all the criticisms against him about him just being transactional and him not actually caring about people, I think all of that's very conflated and wrong, flat out wrong. And I just don't see any chance that he walks away from this opportunity of the presidency and not fixing these problems that he knows are there and that need to be addressed. Not just geopolitically, but you heard Steve Wickoff in that clip talk about his son purchasing opioids from a U.S. corporation online. Like, that has to be addressed. I have friends who've died from that, so that has to be addressed. The crimes that that corporate America have committed against the American people, the exploitation of the American people and the world, has to be addressed. And I think that is being addressed through these trade negotiations, tariffs. And then let me check for. All right, and there's a clip that Claire Cat sent. I think this might be worth watching. Maybe we'll do this as the outro. We'll do this as the outro. And again, last night had Cam on to talk about North Korea and Dennis Rodman. I thought that was a really, really good episode. It was one that I was looking forward to for a very long time. Yeah, Claire Cat, we'll do this one as an outro. It's a 40-second clip about Netanyahu being questioned by, I think that's Arakchi, or not Arakchi, what's his name? Former defense minister under Netanyahu in 2019, who resigned when he found out that the Qatari money, the money to Hamas, was coming from Qatar. And this is him questioning Netanyahu in the Knesset about it. So we'll do that as the outro. And let's just check for the boosts. If you are listening on replay, you can go to badlandsmedia.tv/boosts, or just click on the boost tab. And let's see, looks like we have, I think, a few. Oh, wow. Yeah, we do. Joyce Marg, $5. Oops, my $100 boost from today was meant for this show, Geopolitics with Ghosts. Please make this correction. I like breaking history too, though. Thanks. Wow. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and find your $100 breaking history boost and read that. It says, "Hey, Ghost, I listened to your show today, Friday, October 10th, and really learned a lot and enjoyed it a lot. I hear you all the time on Daily too, but liked hearing you run your show. Also, I'm sure you already know, but you are the most handsome Badlands host." Well, thank you, Joyce. I don't know I don't know about the last part, but thank you for very, very generous boost. And I really appreciate the generosity and the kind words. I do enjoy running my own show. I'm long in the tooth, just like Burning Bright. And sometimes my show's a little unorthodox. We sit there and we watch a video and comment on it as opposed to running through headlines. But I would rather people walk away with a comprehensive understanding of a single situation as opposed to just being bombarded by 100 headlines where they walk away with very little understanding of any of them. I think that there's not a lot of value in that. There's way more value in understanding one situation than not understanding any situation. So I hope that makes sense. But thank you again for the generosity. Claire Cat. I may have read this on Friday, but Claire Cat, I'll read this again for you. $22, Ghost. Thank you very much for all you do to keep us informed. You bring clarity and interesting, in-depth info to all your shows, and we are very grateful. Much gratitude and many blessings, Pete and Claire. Well, thank you, Claire Cat, and I hope we're going to see you in Cocoa Beach. But if we don't, that's okay. Yeah. So I think that does it. Thank you all for being here. Hit the thumbs up, and I'm going to. Let's play this. I'm going to play this clip, and then I'm going to, and then I'll outro us. All right, y'all. I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to hop off, but I will see y'all tonight on DEFCON 0. Well, actually, you know what? This is all in Hebrew, so I'm gonna have to read this because it's captioned. So, it says this guy says, "You personally initiated Qatar's money transfer to Hamas, together with Mohammed al-Ahmadi. You bear responsibility for it. This was your personal order. You bear responsibility for it. In 2020, you sent Mossad chief Yossi Cohen. This is juicy, along with Herzi Halavi to Qatar." In order to increase the amount of money of Qatari money. So why are you against the governmental commission? Because you know that all the meetings are recorded in the minutes, word for word. You can't run and hide. You can't shift the blame onto others. You can't say you knew anything. You can't say you didn't know anything. Wait, what? You can't shift the blame to others, and you can't say you knew nothing. Okay, you can't say you knew nothing. Thank you, Claire Cat. That guy, by the way, would know because he was in Netanyahu's cabinet when those payments to Hamas first started. So he would actually know what he's talking about there. That was very helpful. I'm going to take those names because now I have some names to run with, Claire Cat. So thank you for sharing that. And with that said, we'll get out of here. All right, guys. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.